Welcome to the Vink and Sardo Show, where we discuss episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
And cringy nerd love.
I'm John.
I'm Joe.
This special Halloween episode is titled The Tale of the Midnight Madness. It aired June 26, 1993. It was written by Chloe Brown and directed by DJ McHale.
Yeah, so I think we went over it in our last episode. This is episode 2 of the podcast. That DJ McHale is Chloe Brown, and Chloe Brown is DJ McHale. Just to clarify.
I'm gonna drop that bomb on you if you haven't heard that already.
Yeah, it's another Vink episode.
It's another Vink episode because it's a Frank episode.
Yep.
I believe that Frank is the only one who tells Vink stories. Is that it?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Oh yeah. Well, Gary does a little crossover. Gary and Frank will tell a Vink story together eventually, but we're not to that yet.
Okay. I mean, there's not really much that happens in the opener that's of any importance, so.
No, it's pretty straightforward, set up. We're going to get you some popcorn. We're going to tell you a story about an old theater.
The Rialto.
The
Rialto Theater.
But first, before we get to the actual story, we'll start back into the Midnight Society. You're going to hear some strange music cues that you don't normally hear. That is going to continue on into the story up until the point that Dr. Vink makes his appearance. And these are silent era movie cues in the scores.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's really interesting that they did that and really imaginative.
Because it's like piano stuff, right? It's like really kind of...
Yeah, and it cues everything up perfectly that happens. Like, you don't need... Up until Vink appears, you don't need any speech. I mean, the music could tell the story pretty much of what's the emotions, the fear the theater's going to close, the worry. It's really interesting up until you get to Vink, when Vink appears, and then it goes back to the normal Are You Afraid of the Dark type little music cues and stuff like that.
Wow, that's some...
Yeah, so
that's some like real analysis.
Yeah, so it's like a weird piano, and it seems out of place, but it doesn't even start when the episode starts. Or the story starts. It starts before the story starts, when Frank's cueing up the story.
It's like a really percussive piano.
Yeah. Like a lot of vibrato on it.
Yeah. All right, so we open up with the story. It starts off with, so we're at the Rialto, and you got the old woman clapping after the end of some movie. The old woman is one of the main characters in this story, I guess.
Bostwick Beacon Hill. No, she's like a supporting character.
She's a supporting character, but she's got her little red beret, and she's a really mean lady.
Yeah, she's just there.
So anyway, so the Rialto's failing, because they just play old movies. No one cares about watching old movies.
Yeah, they probably can't afford to pay the fees to show the new movies.
To get like the A-list movies.
Yeah. Well, introduce the main characters, I guess. There is 4 main characters, but we'll get to the first 3.
So are they the only employees? Are we to believe that?
Well, the manager, and then the 2 people that basically run the theater itself.
Right. Okay. So we got so the 2 lead protagonists are Pete the nerd guy, and Katie the girl.
The generic girl.
And you got the manager is Mr. Kristoff.
Yeah, Mr. Kristoff's up in there.
So anyway, the theater's failing, and Pete basically gets out on the street and is flyering on behalf of the theater. I don't know, is he getting paid to do that?
Seems like he's doing more than the management and the ownership to save this theater.
I mean, he's got a personal stake in it, even though I don't think he has any kind of stake in the actual business.
Well, he works there. He's an employee.
Yeah.
And it actually does work, because we assume that Vink saw his flyer when he comes in with the flyer in his hand.
Yeah, so that's what I was wondering. So Vink was just walking down the street and saw this flyer? Because I always imagine he just has some kind of some sense, and he's like, "Oh, again, I'm going to go to show up at this theater." I never really remember that he brought the flyer in.
I imagine that one of the flyers somebody tossed on the ground, and it got swept up into the winter air.
In the wind.
And it ended up in his forest abode. So then he picks it up.
All right. I got a bone to pick already. because we discussed this already. I don't think Vink lives in the forest abode. I think this Vink. I imagine this Vink lives in like an apartment downtown.
Yeah, well,
or
we
something.
skipped over the part where he was a chef. I believe that was an older episode. We're doing this out of order.
All right. Like I said, I don't think Vink.
So I guess the forest abode got destroyed anyway.
So
he's living in Ottawa or wherever in an apartment. He owns a restaurant.
He also owns a restaurant, and he's a former filmmaker.
Yeah.
From the silent film era.
Yeah, he's got a few other things up his bag, but
all right. So anyway, they're in the theater talking about how the theater's failing, and then so the shadowy figure is approaching, and it turns out to be Vink, and he does his classic, I'm Dr. Vink with a and he's just like got this really awesome presence on screen, and yeah, he's a delight to see, Joe.
Yeah, it's really amazing that the actor himself, Aaron Tager, never had a bigger presence, I guess, in film. Always a very small bit character. It's just amazing that he never, I guess, had like a big moment, I guess, in like mainstream.
It's just like the quirky characters. Is it that? Is maybe he can only play stuff like that? Is he like too over the top?
Maybe it might be too over the top. That's why he's best for.
I mean, it's for a kids show. I mean, yeah, it works so well.
Yeah, everything in that episode is pretty over the top.
Yeah, I mean, he's just great though. So yeah, so apparently he explains that he was a former filmmaker. His films were very popular, and then he talks about he has this vampire film, and he says, "In my story, the vampire wins."
Yeah, he's gonna save their theater with this silent era movies.
Yeah, so he says the place will turn around and the theater will be successful if he plays this. And he's only part of the deal. The deal is that if that happens, if it's a success, that he wants one night a week to play one of his films, one of his other films.
So then, of course, they show the film's like supernatural, and it destroys the film they're playing that Saturday night. For some reason,
it destroys it.
It wants to get played. The film wants.
Right. Yeah, it's supernatural.
It shoots out some like lasers or something, and so then they play the silent era movie, the Nosferatu, the Demon Vampire by Dr. Vink.
Yes.
And it's a success.
People like it.
And apparently they show it every Saturday because people keep coming back.
They just keep watching the same movie over and over again.
One. And it becomes real popular, and they start making money and making their popcorn money.
Right.
Making more than their $6.
And they say they start to be able to get A-list movies.
Apparently.
So I'm thinking this is 90.
Well, they have money.
Right, they have money now. So I'm thinking this is what they're playing like Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Yeah,
it's like 1993. Maybe whatever came out around then.
I mean,
is that what they're playing?
It'd be like Interview with a Vampire. It'd be like Interview with a Vampire at 8, and then Midnight Madness, Demon Vampire at fucking 11.
Yeah, so before, going back a little bit, they got Pete and Katie, after the success of the film, they're enjoying the film, they have this like moment where they hug, and he's like, let's hug again!
Yeah, it was pretty cringy.
It's really cringy and awkward.
Sorry, Pete.
It's sort of this thing that carries through the episode about that Pete wanting to be with Katie that doesn't really pan out in any way. I mean,
yeah, she's always the whole time, even at the end, she's like, "I like you too." It's pretty lukewarm. It's pretty like, I guess I'll say this because I have nothing else to do.
It doesn't go anywhere at all. Yeah, it really doesn't go anywhere. I did notice.
Are they going to go out to the movies together?
Right? I guess so. I did notice that when they had this movie theater was having when it was a success, that they hit their vests were nicer.
They had nicer vests.
They did have nicer vests. They had these like nice green vests.
Wow.
So I thought that's something I never noticed. Those little things you pick up on.
I don't think they hire any new staff though.
No, they didn't hire any new staff.
They're two full timers, I guess.
So anyway, Vink shows up. and
Yeah, after it's been a success for week after week, they're showing the same movie over and over again. People just keep going back.
Yeah, so he says, all right, I came here, for a reason. He wants his films to be played, and the owner says, we can't show your films. We're getting A-list films, and then...
And that's not, it's the manager, Christoph.
Oh, the manager, Christoph. So Vink's, and the guy's like, end of story. And then Vink's like, that's where you're wrong. In fact, it's only just the beginning. And then he exits the theater in this super theatrical, over-the-top way. And he's like, his cape is up and the doors fly open.
See, I think that they really were... I mean, they were... It was just a miscommunication between Christoph and Vink. Because I think they were on the same page. Christoph was going to show his movies Saturday nights for Midnight Madness. And Vink just, I don't know. Christoph didn't come off very good. And Vink's just like, what do you mean you're going to show my movies any night I wanted to show?
No, but he said he wanted, I think the actual deal was that he wanted to be able to play the other films. He'd give me one night a week, right? Or was it did he just assume it could be any movie, any night? So there, he's got his Midnight Madness is playing once a week.
I know. There's nothing that said, oh yeah, you can't show your other movies up for the Midnight Madness. I just think it was, Christoph was just high on the success of the business. And Vink was just like, I just want one thing, and this guy's not delivering. I think it's just really a miscommunication.
So really, it was fine.
It would have been fine.
It would have been fine.
It ends up being fine, but we'll get to that.
Okay, right. It ends up being fine. So then you got Pete. Cut to Pete. He's
studying the movie, trying to figure out why it's so successful. He's a student of cinema.
He is a student, right? And I guess he falls asleep while he's watching it.
Yeah, and the ending where the Harker's trying to kill the vampire, and the vampire kills Harker. Right then, he falls asleep. And he thinks he sees the vampire walking.
So what was Harker's plan? Was he going to stake him in the heart?
No, he was moving it. He was moving it to the window.
Oh, he was moving it to get it in the sunlight.
Yeah, Harker should have pulled the curtain off and then moved it, but you didn't.
But wait a minute.
You didn't choose to do that.
Wait, when in the original film, before the vamp comes out of the screen, was he in the casket? Or are we to believe that he was carrying him? The vampire is in the casket?
No. The vampire wasn't. I don't think the vampire was in the casket. I think he was bringing the casket over because the vampire had to return to the casket.
Oh, and he wouldn't be able to get in.
So then when he returned, he'd be able to open the window.
Right. Oh, okay. I never got that that Harker was planning on doing the sunlight thing. I always thought that Pete was like, oh, he figured out what to do.
I don't know. I don't think we can interpret it for sure.
I'm trying to go back to the original Stoker Dracula.
No, you can't think that.
This is not the same thing. I don't know. Have you seen actual Nosferatu?
I try watching it. It's just the font of the text is just so difficult to read. I can't get through it. It's just so
You can't
weird.
just follow it.
It's quick too.
At the end, like how he kills him, is it similar to that?
Oh no, man! I was trying to read the text. I only get like midway through. I'm like, he's on the ship. It's like he's walking around. It's like, I just want to see this creepy guy in the castle. Try watching it sometime.
Anyway, so the vampire comes out of the screen, and then Pete wakes up, and he just thinks it's a dream.
Yeah.
Another awkward scene, and Pete and Katie are about to kiss, and it doesn't go anywhere. And then do they hear something to go check on them, Christoph, or why do they end up going to check on him?
I think they heard it.
They hear a noise,
a yelp or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he screamed. Christoph screamed.
Okay, so Christoph screams. They run up there. He's got these 2 bite marks on his neck, and they're just like, we gotta call an ambulance.
Yeah, they just look at his neck. All they just look at his like, oh yeah, we gotta call an ambulance.
Something's wrong with him. They don't really. What the heck? Why does this guy have 2 puncture wounds?
They don't check a pulse or anything. They don't see if he's breathing. They attempt no resuscitative method. I mean, don't check out. It's just, come on, guys. It's 1993. I mean, you can check to see if he's breathing and get a pulse.
It wasn't in the job description.
Maybe they wanted him to die because he's kind of a dick.
He's kind of a jerk. All right, so then they go, and they try and leave or something, and then the vamp
Yeah, they can't.
The
They
doors
can't,
are
the
moving.
locked.
The doors are moving. Then you're thinking, oh, maybe Vink. I'm thinking maybe Vink's gonna be coming through again, right? Because he's been coming through those doors already.
Yeah.
So then the vampire comes through, looking super creepy. And then.
I mean, Vink and the vampire are the same thing. Vink is the vampire. The vampire is Vink.
You really think that they're one and the same entity?
I think he's a changeling.
You really think that, or you're just saying that? You really think that they're the same exact
because of the way
being?
Because I think it mostly because Vink basically mesmerizes Kristoff earlier, like a vampire would. Kristoff is dazed, and he's like, yes, he just agrees to the original contract with Vink.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think it.
Because otherwise he might be like, just get out of here, you weirdo.
Yeah, get out of here, you weirdo.
Yeah, well, that is a power. Influence is definitely a power of vampires. So that potentially, but I mean, so he's carrying the film on which he exists as a vampire in the film. Like he said, he shot this film.
Well, I mean, he's not the guy. The vampire in the film.
It was
I mean,
an actor that was.
I imagine it was an actor that he shot. Maybe he was the actor in the original. Don't worry about it.
I'm thinking. I guess you're thinking he's embodying.
Yeah,
just
he's
the
like a changeling.
spirit
He's
of
like
this character in the film.
He like projects the vampire.
Right. All right. So then they go to the projection room, and
yeah, because they're running from the vampire.
Yeah.
And then Pete gets the idea. Hey, put on the last reel.
Yeah.
He doesn't really tell her, I'm going to jump into the movie screen.
Just give her a little clue.
She's like, okay. He runs down. He jumps into the movie screen.
Right. Okay. So before then, he looks super scary here. I know that I'm a grown man. That I shouldn't be really scared. I'm not really afraid, but yeah, just the scenes, like, because it's just so up close, and he's in the projection room with her. It's just like I was thinking, geez, this is probably pretty frightening actually for a 10-year-old, 11-year-old to be watching this. Yeah. So I think I actually was legitimately pretty frightened.
I was usually pretty scared of any episode, really.
Yeah. So
probably
this is
the leprechaun one.
That was pretty. Yeah, that was good.
I mean, his hand movements are pretty over the top.
Oh yeah, he needs a little hand. He needs a little work with a hand wrangler.
Freaking jazz fingers.
All
right, so he goes in as soon as Pete enters the screen, the vampire is no longer chasing Katie in the projection booth, and he comes down to address Pete as Pete's trying to move the casket towards the...
He's attempting to move the casket toward it, but...
Harker did.
Yeah, but did he not figure...
Yeah, Harker was already dead.
He was going to do what Harker did, but then the vampire came in, so he decided to improvise and just throw open the curtain.
Yeah, I think
right. So. Okay, so he throws open the curtain, and Nosferatu turns into this, like, white chalk...
Yeah, that's sensible.
Sort of substance. That makes sense. And then Pete steps out of the film, and then Mr. Kristoff comes out, and he's totally fine. I don't know if it never happened. He doesn't have the wounds. It's kind of just explains.
Vink's projecting it on everybody's mind because he's really persuasive.
So, are you thinking? Okay, he's projecting it. You're saying that Mr. Kristoff wasn't actually bit by a vampire. It's just like he made them believe that he was bit by a vampire.
Yeah, I think it's just he's so persuasive. Just like in the Dangerous Soup, he's projecting people's fears back onto them. He's the one. It's not the stupid statue in the Dangerous Soup. It's Vink that's doing it. Phantom Cab. I mean, it's not a ghost cab driving into a tree. It's Vink trying to make these people that are gonna drive into a tree.
You could do like a whole doctoral thesis on Vink's power of persuasion throughout the Are You Afraid of the Dark series. So Mr. Kristoff's okay, and then it turns out Vink is sitting there in the audience eating popcorn, clapping along, yucking it up.
Maybe the old lady is Vink, and Vink is the old lady.
Maybe. I'll have to give that more thought over the next few weeks. So Kristoff says he can. Wait, does he say he can have one night a week then? Right?
He says he wants to give him 3 nights a week. No.
Oh,
Wait,
he says,
no,
yeah,
no.
I'll give you 3 nights a week.
No, that was the beginning. That was the if you could save me. Yeah, okay. That's the first deal they talk about.
Uh-huh.
He's like joking. Oh, if you could save this, you can bring in people. I'll give you 3 nights a week. And the cut of the vending. I don't want your popcorn. Anyways, we're at the end, and he's like, I was thinking, yeah, deal's a deal. Christoph's saying the deal's a deal. He's trying to make good with
Yeah,
Vink.
making have some resolution there.
And Vink's laughing.
And
He's
Vink's
like, I bought the whole
screw you.
theater. I'm going to show my movies every night.
And so are we to believe that, so they're in for some trouble now and more monsters are going to come out? Or no, he's just going to play his movies and just have his way?
Probably just play his movies, have his way, because that's what he wants.
See, I'm always thinking, okay, is this like a really nefarious ending? Like Pinball Wizard, like, oh, they're in trouble now.
But
and
these
they're
3
caught
people,
in...
So these 3 people have to work there for the rest
Right,
of their
well,
life?
I'm thinking maybe they have to work there and they have to deal with these monsters and...
They have to fight these monsters.
I don't know what other kind of monsters that he had in his movies. Who knows? I'm thinking either they're going to be stalked by these monsters now having to work there, or it's just they're playing movies and they're fine.
Well, there are 2 Dr. Vinks. There's a Dr. Vink that's... He'll mess with you and teach you a lesson. And there's a Dr. Vink that just wants to mess with you.
He just wants to see blood.
Yeah, he just wants to watch the whole world burn. It is. It goes back and forth at different times he appears.
Right.
It's pretty strange.
And so then it all ends, and then Frank and them are talking about going to watch Fright Night.
Yeah, you're gonna go to Fright Night.
So it's either a monster movie night, or they're going to watch the '80s horror movie Fright Night.
Could go either way.
Which is either way is cool because I like Fright Night.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
So
yeah, Midnight Madness is definitely a 5-star, 5 out of 5 for me.
Yeah, it is. When I think of the best episodes of the series, this is usually comes up as number 1, along with some other,
or number 2.
with some other ones that I don't. Can we say like?
You can say
which ones we think of? I would probably say this and Laughing in the Dark, or
Laughing in the Dark's right up there.
Right up there.
There's a few others that are right up there, but Midnight Madness.
This one's A plus. Check it out. Check it out if you haven't checked it out. So. That's this episode.
That's Vink and Sardo Show.
Vink and Sardo Show.
Episode 2, the Halloween. Happy Halloween.
So we'll see you next time, folks. Thanks for tuning in.
See ya.
Bye.